If you think Pinterest is just for recipes, party planning, and DIY crafts, think again. Whether you sell digital courses, offer coaching, or run an e-commerce store, Pinterest could be the secret weapon for driving evergreen traffic and high quality leads. In this episode, I'm joined by Pinterest strategist Laura Rike, who helps her clients generate six-figure results using Pinterest strategically and sustainably. You'll learn how to turn pins into profits, why Pinterest is more like gardening than social media, and what you need in place to actually make it work for your business. So, if you've ever wondered if Pinterest is worth your time, this conversation will change your mind. Let's get started. Welcome to the E-commerce Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Carrie Saunders. When we started this business, all I had was a couch, a laptop, and a 9-month-old. My main goal? To help others. Now, with over 20 years in the e-commerce building industry and even more than that in web development, I have seen a lot. I love breaking down the hard tech into easily understandable bits to help others be successful in their online business. Whether you're a seasoned e-commerce veteran or just starting out, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of e-commerce together. Welcome back to the show. Today we have a special guest with us, and her name is Laura Rike. She's a leading Pinterest strategist with over 15 years of marketing experience, helping service providers and product-based businesses drive consistent traffic and leads using Pinterest. So welcome to the show, Laura.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So glad to have you here. So I just gave a little tiny snip of what you are and who you are and what you do. So tell us a little bit more about Laura, who you are, how you came to helping other businesses with Pinterest and
Ah,
how'd that become your passion?
Yeah, so I originally went to school thinking that I was going to be an interior designer. I just really loved design, whether it was online or like physically designing things. I realized very quickly that back then that industry wasn't probably going to be best fit for me. So I decided to do graphic design and it was amazing and I loved it. And then I learned I could be virtual before virtual assistants was even a thing. And so I started working virtually and it kind of branched out from just graphic design and I started becoming an actual like VA doing a bunch of different things. And I have three kids, and my oldest kid was one at the time. He came up and closed my laptop. And he was like, "Why are you always on this?" And I was like, "Oh, sorry, dude. Like, that was not my intention." And so my now husband at the time and I just really had to have like a conversation about like what that needed to look like, what I wanted to change, how I wanted to be present for the family more. And I had been doing Pinterest for some of my clients, and I still really loved design. So I started only offering that, and it just kind of evolved from there. The results and the fun that I got to see from the back end of that with my clients was amazing.
I think that's really great because it sounds like your origin story is kind of similar to mine. I started with a 9-month-old and a laptop, and I just started to just do what I was good at and help businesses. So it sounds like that's kind of like a little bit of a nutshell of how you got started into
Yeah.
this world of Pinterest and graphic design and things like that.
Yeah, 100%. And just really being family focused. I
Hmm.
mean, it's evolved over the years, like I said, but like one of my exciting, greatest things that I do all the time is I take Tuesdays off, not just in the summer, but all year round. And now we have three kids, and it is the like sought after thing in the summer. Even my teenager will join us. We'll go to parks, we'll do a bucket list. And then during the school year, with each one of my kids, I was able to have a full day with just them because we have such an age gap between them, where it was like just mommy and me time for a whole day. And that is really when I was like, okay, this is like the whole point of what I wanted to do when I decided I wanted to work from home.
That's pretty brilliant that you decided pretty early on to take a whole day off. I think that's really just speaks wonders to like one, your work ethic too, because you're also respecting yourself and your time, your own time and your family's time. but also in setting those boundaries with who you're working with and just really kind of making a better, well-rounded children, really. So I love that you
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah, it's been a joy to be able to do that. My youngest is now 4, so next year she'll be going into kindergarten. Um, I'll probably still take Tuesdays off. I'll probably just try to figure out something else to do, like go to the sauna by myself or something. Like, I don't know. I just think it's really good to have our own time, regardless of the kids as well.
I think that is very important and a great business lesson too.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
so let's get into Pinterest a little bit too, because I know that a lot of people think of Pinterest as a platform for recipes and DIY. And I know it's something that I've struggled with. It's one of the things that I want to get our business into a bit more. But like, it's a bit hard to conceptualize how would I put things on Pinterest. So, could you explain to us how it's actually a powerful tool for lead generation for both service-based businesses like us and like many of the listeners here, as well as e-commerce businesses who also listen to the podcast?
Yeah. So there's a lot of misconception that has kind of just carried over through the years. One of the biggest ones is that like you have to be churning out blog content and you have to be some sort of blogger. And that's honestly really not true. Pinterest at its core is a search engine platform. So really, it is a visual platform at its core. So when users are coming to it, they're actually already past the stall of, do I need this? Is this important to me? Is this going to benefit me? Because they're going to it searching for that solution, that service, that product. And when I say solution, I like to kind of change that for people because people think solution equals physical, right? And then you send them a product. And solution can be service. Solution can be strategy sessions. It can be delegating. It can be like so many different things that they're coming to the platform to learn who's going to be the best fit for them, who's going to be able to walk beside them and help them, knowing what their brand is, knowing that they can keep that energy that they have in their business through to something else. And so, really focusing on first, where is it that you convert right now? Like, don't focus on all these places that you need to be present on, right? I always laugh a little when people are like, I have to be omnipresent. And yeah, it's good to be visible. And if that means you are omnipresent, great, go for that. I don't take Tuesdays off being omnipresent. So I like to focus on what's going to convert. We talk about everything in marketing is consideration, awareness, and purchase. Consideration is just learning, blog posts, social media, like the content you put out there. Awareness is going to be, I'm sorry, flip flop that. So that is going to be awareness. And then consideration is going to be the lead gen, right? You give them something in return for them giving you their email, their phone number, something that you're collecting. And then purchase obviously is purchasing from you, whether that is a service, a digital product, physical product, doesn't matter. And so if you think about it in those three things, and you couple it with where you're already bringing in the leads and sales now, that's where you start on Pinterest. If you are bringing in massive leads from LinkedIn articles, start using Pinterest as top of funnel to go to those articles. If it's direct to a landing page, pin direct to the landing page. It really doesn't have restrictions in terms of the URL that you use. It's just, is that going to be best for you and where you're going to be able to bring in the most return for your time on the platform?
So I love how you equate that because a lot of people don't realize that Pinterest is a search engine, just like YouTube is a search engine, Google's a search engine, Pinterest is a search engine. And
Yeah.
I think some of the questions that run through my mind though as you talk, okay, could you give us an example? This is where I would get hung up. Could you give us an example of what sort of image or graphic would you put
Yeah,
along with that pin to get them there? That's where I get hung up with,
yeah,
creating a pin.
for sure. So if you're a digital product, obviously you're going to have mock-ups. You're going to use those, right? You can. If you're a physical product, I guarantee you have some sort of product photos you're going to use. And that's where people normally think like, okay, this is where I have to be, and that's where it ends. Text-based only images work phenomenally for all three, digital, physical, and service-based businesses. It does not matter because it is a search-based platform. Your pin can be visually searched for the words that you put on that design. So you can have that tall vertical image and then just have a title with a call to action on it. The title could be your keywords, right? And so even like for this, if you're going to pin to the podcast, use the title of the podcast. Use something about Pinterest strategy or marketing or something like that in the title, and then call to action something they don't know. The call to action doesn't always have to be like click to listen or here to download or whatever. You can do fun things like I bet you didn't know number two, or I bet you have never thought of Pinterest this way. And then people will click through and go to the podcast and listen, and hopefully become a podcast subscriber or click things in the show notes. And that's just one example. You can have tons of different examples. You can repurpose any video content or reels or shorts that you use. Again, put a title overlay on top of it. There's so many different use cases, but titles really are the easiest thing to start with for service-based businesses. And really, honestly, anybody, if you're a newer business and you don't have a ton of product photos or things like that too, you just use text.
I hadn't even thought about that. I think that's such a simple solution. I think that'll help those that are listening who are brand new to considering Pinterest because I
Yeah.
mean, sitting here thinking, well, sure, I can make like a pretty graphic with text on it and, lead
Yeah.
to one of our offerings. It's kind of like a no-brainer, but we just
Yeah.
tend to complicate things sometimes when we're trying something new with
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. And it can be overwhelming when you're trying to learn something new. And that's why the biggest thing I tell people all the time is just pin. It don't if the keywords are hanging you up, don't focus on them. That can come, right? But I want you to experience the platform and realize how beneficial it can be even without all the nuanced strategy type pieces. And once you get the hang of it, then start layering in. Because I will tell you, Pinterest is the most forgiving and dynamic platform online. You can pin something today and it's not going to be perfect. But 2 years from now, you could still get leads from it.
I love that. And I love how, like, a lot of people don't think about the fact of that, but then it goes, back to what we said already earlier. It's a search engine. So it can still keep serving you. It's a high leveraged asset, really, kind of
Yeah.
like YouTube is and investing in search engine optimization on your website. It's a high leverage asset. So if
Yeah.
somebody's listening and are wanting to get started, what are some other key pieces that business owners need to have in place before they start generating these leads from Pinterest? Is there anything we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I just did a live stream on this too, trying to help people, is really figuring out where all your content is already. And by content, I'm going to put that in air quotes and just say it can be anything, right? Where is it that you have posted or published or spoken or anything that has a URL? And really create some sort of like a vault or a content planner or something with all of those links and organize them in that awareness, consideration, and purchase phases, because that's really going to help you then see like, okay, maybe this was for 4th of July, maybe this was for Thanksgiving, maybe this was for New Year's or Mother's Day or whatever it is. That can be used again and again and again. And so just really focus on that as a beginning piece so that you don't get lost in the, have I pinned this? Do I need to pin this? Have I created a different pin for this? Like all those little things. Just really start to organize everything and keep documentation of it, really, so that you can start to get more of that strategy of like, okay, I've already done this consideration piece that leads to this sales funnel. So now I could do a link to that same sales funnel, but the sales page. Then you have both of them connecting together.
And I think getting organized like that is super key. I know when I started this podcast, that was one of the first things I did was I really got organized. I kind of geeked out on Excel sheets. So you don't have to do Excel sheets
Yeah.
that scares you, but like I did an Excel sheet of every single podcast title, what the episode number was, who was in it. And I also had a different one that was all my ideas of what I wanted to post. So I think for
Mm.
those listening, if you can consider how would you want to organize those two things. I feel like an idea board makes sense, like however you want to do it. And then what
Yeah.
did I do when? Because I will go back to that podcast calendar Excel sheet and search it for a keyword and to find a podcast episode. So I think that you could
Yeah.
do the same thing with the Pinterest pins. You could search for a keyword to see, oh, did I already pin this? Did I already create content on this? So I think starting with that organization is really going to help it be less overwhelming and more tangible to do.
100%. Yep. And I am a good spreadsheet girly. I love a good spreadsheet. I probably way overthink my spreadsheets. But I do have content planners that I use, and it's just a new tab for each thing that you're trying to focus on, whether it's the customer journey, the keywords, tracking your analytics, things like that. Like whatever is comfortable for you, Google Docs, a notebook, Looker Studio or Google Analytics or whatever, use that because that information is going to be what fuels you to continue. And it's also going to be helpful to optimize and scale once you start to see those results come from the platform.
I totally agree. And I think it's going to save a lot of time down the road. It'll take a little bit of time to get it set up, but like it just outweighs the benefits outweigh that little bit of setup time. At least I
Yeah.
found with the podcast. So definitely when I dig into Pinterest, I'm going to do something similar based upon your advice here. I think that's great. Now, I've also seen that you like to compare Pinterest to gardening, and this gets me curious because I can kind of see where you might be going with this since I understand search engine optimization too. And I
Yep.
figure it's probably going to go along those lines. So, can you walk us through that analogy that you have and what it actually means for setting realistic expectations for business owners?
Yeah, 100%. So, by focusing on Pinterest as a garden strategy, you focus on it as like you cultivating a garden where you're going to have the prep part, you're going to have organized planting, strategic nurturing to make sure they're growing the right way, and then scaling, which is going to lead to that harvest, whether it's herbs or flowers or whatever it is, right? So I kind of put that together. One, if you can tell, I love my plants. I actually have over 150 different plants in my house from all around the world. So I'm kind of a plant nerd, and we did have a garden growing up, and also with my kids. But you can kind of equate that easily and grasp the like steps and essentials that are needed to be able to grow your presence on the platform. And so the four things, I do everything in my four-part framework. We call it systems or setup, system, strategy, and scale. And so we did that with gardening, where tend to the gardening, you plant and plan, you prune and sell, and then you repeat and grow. And so each part of that equates with my four-step framework. And so the setup is really focused on preparing the soil, which is going to be optimizing your profile, carefully crafting your boards so that you're speaking to Pinterest as a computer, aligning that content strategy that we've been talking about with your brand values. And all of that is really just like picking where you're going to garden, where it's going to be the most fertile, where the soil is going to be the best, and focus on all of that before you actually plant the seeds, right? And then we go into systems. So systems is planting seeds in an organized way. There are certain plants and seeds that do not play well together, just like lots of things in life. And so this is really focused on the Pinterest side of things, of like all the systems you need: Tailwind, Pinterest native schedulers, Canva, everything that's going to go into this content calendar and routine for being able to stay consistent on the platform and do it in less time, is really where we focus on choosing those specific garden spots. The next step is strategy, which is nurturing. So this is where you're going to look at things, refine your posting schedule. Group boards are no longer really a thing that we ever focus on. I do use communities in Tailwind. They were formerly called tribes, but that is also something you can be active in different communities, exploring other opportunities for traffic and leads. It's going to be the same thing as like making sure you water enough, making sure that you pick the weeds, making sure that, you have all that done as things are growing. And then scale is just that, expanding your garden. If you sold things out of your garden, right? What can you do again to make sure you have more to sell? On Pinterest, that's really taking a moment to analyze what actually worked, where you were focusing your efforts, making sure that you have automation in those processes. If it's expanding your team, things like that, then you really want to focus on that so that you can scale bigger and better next time. If there's something that didn't work, it's okay. That's normal. You can leave that pin there and maybe it comes back around later, but maybe you focus on something else. And so that's really going to be that piece of making sure that your flywheel continues to happen on Pinterest and on the platform. And yeah, so that's really our fun analogy for the kids and I here at the house when we love plants and gardening.
And I think that makes a whole lot of sense. And I think it can probably help others visualize, how does this process work? How do I get started? Do I just jump in and pin but no, you're like, no, we got to prepare everything first, and then we can, start planting those seeds. So I love how you make that analogy to make it memorable, one, and also easier to understand. And I bet some people listening will be like, okay, that's great. But what are some common mistakes? Like, I don't want to make those cringe mistakes when I first, get on a new platform. So, what are some common mistakes that people might make when they're trying to do lead generation on Pinterest?
Yeah. Specifically for lead generation is posting that URL too many times back to back. On the flip side, not posting it enough. So there's a really fine line, that can be really easy to navigate. It's not something that's going to get you banned from the platform or shadow banned or whatever other people say for other platforms. It's really just figuring out if you have the right strategy set up to be able to organize that URL multiple times on the platform. And what I mean by that is you can have different boards that are very similar. So for example, if we have a garden and we have fruits and vegetables, right? You're not going to take a fruit and put it over on the vegetable side. So keeping that going on Pinterest, if you're talking about strawberries, you can have a strawberries board, a fruit board, a berries board. There can be different boards that the strawberries can be pinned to, but you're not going to take strawberries and go and pin it on a carrots board. And so just little things like that are really going to make it more effective for you. Because if you think about it, even if I pinned one pin a day and I used that same piece of content, but I pinned it to a different board, and I keep doing that, say I have 5 boards with one pin, you're going to make 3 to 4 pin designs at a bare minimum for that one URL. So now I have 3 pins that can go to this one board, and 3 here, and 3 here, and 3 here, and so on and so forth. So that first week, I have tons of content, 1 pin a day, right? We get to that next week, I still have those 1 pins going, but then I'm going to pick a new topic. And so now I'm going to have more pins going. And so after your first 30 to 60 days, you're going to see how easy it can be to have 3 or 4 different pins going out per day. If that's where you want to start. Again, I also have clients that are 15 to 20 times a day. It really does not matter how much you pin. It really depends on how often and the quality. So that is something really to focus on for sure.
I never really thought about it that way too, as far as like, you have a strawberry and you can put it on many different boards, and in my mind they were kind of each different, but you can reuse something basically and put it on
Mhm.
a different board that it applies to. And
Yeah.
then that kind of made me think of another question too. So with Pinterest, do you always link to a content, or sometimes it's just something that's up there that's informative?
Okay, so then I'm going to challenge you with that question because I love this. If you were to put up something that is informative on there, what is the goal behind that pin?
I guess there wouldn't be really a goal other than maybe get a follower, but that's about it.
Yeah. And so followers aren't going to bring in the leads and sales. They are something we watch to make sure the account isn't growing stagnant. However, since I put you in the hot seat,
Mhm.
what you want to do is that goal, what next step would you love that person to take? And so if that next step is going to a piece of content after that that continues on, like say I was teaching this gardening 4-part framework and I put it all on a long infographic, then maybe I want to lead to the masterclass where it goes more in depth about that 4-part framework, right? Because there's always something after for what we are teaching. And so, yes, 100% do informative. I have clients that make bank off of infographics that lead to products because you're helping explain that in the beginning, right? And so they feel more confident with that brand and with that product or service. But you always want to have some sort of goal on the back end. What are you teaching them? What action do you want them to take? Because there's nothing else really that can happen from that pin unless you have that tailored to a specific.
That makes a lot of sense. And as soon as I asked the question, I was like, oh wait, because this is all website stuff too, is you want a page to lead them to that next step. So it totally makes sense. But I appreciate you
Yeah,
totally
or
explaining that, because it's hard to think about that sometimes when you're stuck in the new world of a new place.
yeah, or like even if it's not going to lead to a website page or a blog post, right? I'm sure that there are multiple podcast episodes or reels or Facebook posts or things like that that would provide more information on that same topic.
That makes a good point there, because I hadn't really thought about, linking a Pinterest pin to an already social media post that, we
Hmm.
might already have out there, or somebody listening might already
Yeah.
have out there. So that's a good way to get new visibility to something
Yeah.
that generally just goes poof in the air after, a
Yeah.
few hours at most. So that's really brilliant to like be reusing your social media post links back into Pinterest to draw more
Yes.
attention and get more comments and more likes on it, which then will bring it back up to the top of the algorithm again on those other platforms. So
$100.
that's a brilliant next step for people who want to like, take it to the next step. I feel like that's kind of like a more of a next step thing,
Yeah.
for
A
those,
hundred percent.
and then
Yeah.
so we were talking, about lead generation and things like this, or, getting that product or service purchased. So is there a key that really helps Pinterest work really well to get the traffic either to that pin and then through to the destination? Is there some little tip we've missed here that really kind of elevates a pin more than others?
Yeah, I mean, it not necessarily elevates a pin. There's a lot of different factors based on like the keywords and if people are actually clicking through or saving the pin. But one thing I will say about lead gen, if you are leading direct to a landing page that is going to ask for a name and email, what I have found in the past is you really want to have a strong title, paragraph, and then an embeddable form right there above the fold. A lot of things shift with Pinterest, whether they click through to get to the site or whether they swipe up. That is a new feature that they've been testing out. The mobile is 90% of how the mobile view, how people will see that web page. And so if you do a lot of information at the top of a landing page for a lead magnet, or even an SLO without a purchase button right away at the top, people are more than likely to bounce off really quickly. Pinterest is a bouncy platform, is what I call it. And so people have a short attention span. You got to keep up with it. I've really focused on a title, maybe a graphic, 2 to 3 sentences, and then name, email, button. Then underneath that, you can go into more because I guarantee people will continue to read more about it. But for those who have a very short, like, okay, I want this information, just send it to me, the quicker they can put in their name and email, the easier it is for you to capture that lead.
And that's a really good point that I think a lot of people might not think about because we're just so used to over delivering our information. When you're on this platform like that, you sometimes you just want to get something done. You want the thing or you want the
Yes.
information. So I think that's a really great point that I hadn't thought about yet, that you need to make that super easy.
Yeah. No, that's
So then,
awesome.
yeah, so is there anything else that you'd love to, talk about with Pinterest that we haven't covered yet today on the show?
I think one fun thing that I will say is there are different types of Pinterest personalities. And so I kind of mentioned this earlier to you one on one, but I have this really fun Pinterest quiz. It's like 6 or 7 questions. It's a BuzzFeed style quiz. No strings attached, but it really helps you feel like, oh my gosh, this would be the way that I could do Pinterest. And the questions are all based on like recipes and home decor and music. And like, it's just really fun. But I've had so many people tell me that it really understood them and their brand. And now it kind of helped them connect a way to use Pinterest that will work specifically for how they function. So it's free, but it's really fun because Pinterest is a different platform than social media. And so there are 4 different types of users, and really understanding what type of user you are and what type of marketer you are on that platform will really help you speak your user's love language.
That sounds really great. And I am excited to actually try that for myself. So we'll be sure to put that link in the show notes for those listening who want to, who are as excited as I am to take that quiz, because I feel like it will help me get a good start. Because I mean, honestly, I've not started with Pinterest. I have had it on my to-do list for over a year and I
Yeah,
haven't started it, maybe for more than that, but really seriously the past year. So I can't wait to take that quiz and
yeah.
see which direction I need to go when I'm, utilizing Pinterest as a business strategy.
For sure. And each person who takes it, it's not just take it and find out. I do have videos tailored to your Pinterest personality that come to you via email, and you can watch them. They're short bite-sized videos on how to do this or that. And then it's also coupled sometimes with a PDF or an SOP or things like that. So it is very strategic in helping each person where they're at, because I love a saying I use all the time in my marketing is love from where you're at, right? Everybody's on a different journey. Everybody's on a different learning level or implementation level. And so I just really want people to use the platform because I know how amazing it can be.
I just love that. I love how you put your heart and soul in behind that quiz to really help people
Yeah.
like us and business owners who are listening, take that step and that leap into being
Yes.
confident and starting their Pinterest is what it sounds like it's going to do for them. I just love
Yes.
how you created that. Yeah. So then if somebody's listening and they want to learn a bit more about Laura and how you can help them. Where are the best places besides Pinterest, obviously, but we will definitely link to your Pinterest
Yeah.
in our show notes. But where's other good places to find you online or get a hold of you?
Yeah, the easiest is laurarike.com/podcast. There's a ton of free goodies in there for you guys for just like a thank you for listening to this episode. The quiz is on there and then different ways to work with me. I am online everywhere as Laura Rike, Laurarike. So feel free to join me anywhere you are loving that platform.
Thank you so much, Laura. I've learned so much today, and I'm sure our listeners will get so much good information on how to either optimize their Pinterest if they're already using it, or how to like get started if they're been having this on their bucket list like we've had and just haven't taken that leap yet. So I really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Wasn't that conversation with Laura so helpful? I know Pinterest has been on my list to do for our business for a while now and a bit more of top of the list this past year, and I just haven't taken the leap. So I hope the conversation we had with Laura today will help you take that next step with Pinterest if you're not on it yet, or further your Pinterest skills if you're already on it. It's great for not just only visibility, but for building real revenue generating momentum in your business. So whether you sell physical goods, digital courses, or high ticket services, Pinterest is a platform that works while you sleep if you set it up right. Huge thanks to Laura for demystifying the platform, giving us some practical ways to grow our list, boost traffic, and attract the right leads. I hope you loved today's episode. And if you did, please be sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever podcasts are joined if you're not already. And you can always find our show notes at ecommercemadeeasypodcast.com. And we will see you next week.